Hi, welcome back to Spill the Tea. Today we're talking about sexual immortality. Just kidding. This is Spill the Word, and we're talking about what, Lauren? If you listen to our last episode, then you'll understand.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, please go back and listen.
Go back. So this week we are kind of continuing the theme of dying to yourself and being the type of people that God designed us. So this week we're talking about submitting to your husbands.
Oh,
good one,
yeah.
right? Hot topic.
Yep.
Which we'll be covering Ephesians 5, verses 21 through 33. So it's kind of a long one. So yeah, last week we talked about dying to yourself in a self-loving world. And so we're just kind of gonna carry that theme over to today and talk about like what this passage actually means. Okay, so like just a little background. When Justin and I were going through our like premarital classes or whatever, it was like a 6-week course.
Yeah.
This verse came up and it was like the passage in its entirety, I'm sure, but it was the one thing that Justin could call back to.
Yeah. He's like, I'm really glad we've done these premarital counseling.
He did not remember. Well, I don't want to speak for him, but like there was nothing that stuck with him as much as wives submit to your husbands.
Yeah.
And
obviously
the way that this caused such an issue, and like, I know that he was joking, you know, most of the time, but like,
well, and you are a very, like, you don't have a super submissive personality naturally.
yeah, no.
So I bet his ears like really perked up.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you hear what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, to say it caused like a bit of tension, would have been an understatement, but it's what led me to really like initially dive into the verse and understand what Paul was relaying here. So Ephesians 5:22 says, "Wives, be subject to your own husbands as to the Lord." So some translations say submit. So, okay, just like reading this verse without full context is a bit jarring.
Yeah.
You know, we are learned women.
Yeah.
And in this, like, the future is female.
Well, and that word submission can be a little triggering to some people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, even to me, it feels scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are you calling me to do?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So taking it out of context is like, hold on now, you know. But let's look at the verses in their entirety. So this is going to be long, but I'm going to read through all of Ephesians 5:21 through 33.
Okay.
So it starts out by saying, submit to one another, out of a reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any blemish, but holy and blameless. In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body just as Christ does the church. For we as members of his body. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united with his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Okay. I know that's a lot.
Yeah, thanks for that, though.
But, okay, so let's unpack. So the context of submit. So this is Paul addressing the early Christian households. And at the time, this statement or teaching could have been like considered countercultural, where women were just often seen as inferior. And contrary to the belief of the culture that we live in, that is not the culture that we live in today.
Yeah.
So the verse that comes before telling wives to submit to their husbands sets the stage to the passage by calling one another, or by saying submit to one another out of a reverence for Christ. So this shows us that the submission is mutual. It calls Christians to voluntary mutual submission within relationships driven by respect for Jesus rather than coerced authority. If we are submitting, serving others, and it's mutual, then we are meeting others' needs and our needs are being met as well. So Christ himself provides the greatest example of submitting to one another when he lowered himself to become a man and to die the death of a common criminal on the cross in order that those who believe in him might be saved. So how can you submit to others practically? I know we kind of like talked about this, touched on this the last episode, but, kind of like trying to convince others to see it our way. So it means demonstrating Christ-like character through respectful, gentle, and loving behavior rather than full coercion.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you talked about gently, respectfully demonstrating Christ-like behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And this made me think about a recent situation between Jake and I. Well, not recent. It just has happened our entire marriage.
Okay, yeah. And ongoing.
And recently. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
systematic is what the people call it.
Yeah, it's been a systematic problem.
Okay.
Basically, every time we get in an argument, once the argument is done, I need Jake to give me a full apology, admit all that he's done wrong, and then tell me a path forward of how he's not going to commit these egregious things against me again, right?
Absolutely.
And so I need that every time in order.
Is this not standard?
I don't think it is. But I literally need this every time in order to move on.
Yeah.
And if I don't get that, then I haven't truly moved on.
Yeah.
So even though he may think the fight's over,
sure,
it's not.
Right.
And he'll figure out sooner or later that
Yeah.
it's not, right?
Yeah.
So this really, and I think that the reason why we decided to do this topic, or maybe it's not, but I texted you one night because I had really felt like I didn't need to make Jake do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I really can't remember. Maybe he just decided he wasn't going to do it, right? So
Probably,
one
yeah.
of the two happened. I wasn't getting what I was wanting. And so I texted you how frustrated I was. And, you kind of said that that's also hard for you. And so we talked about this. And it just made me think about how so many women out there, this is probably very hard for them, you know?
Yeah, well, like we said last episode, women are more emotional.
Yes.
Like men can apologize and move on. And it's like so little to them. Like you said, I need a full dissertation on why you did the things you did.
Yeah.
On a bullet point plan on how we're going to move forward.
Yes.
Whereas like men are just like, oh, sorry, let's go grab something to eat. And I'm like, I'm still back at the restaurant where you left me.
Yeah.
Like,
and Jake, after usually he gives me his full speech and then he'll say, do you want a hug? And even after that speech, I'm still reluctant. It's like a side hug.
Sure.
Exactly. Like, this is all you're getting for now.
Right.
So that is super prideful, not what we're called to do as wives. And so I really felt convicted of, this. And so I'm on the path forward to try not to do this anymore. TBD.
Right. Yeah. Work in progress.
Yeah.
Whip.
Yeah.
So, okay, this Christ-like, behavior that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So there are two passages in Peter that back this up. So quiet witness. So this is focusing on winning them through your actions rather than trying to force your beliefs on them. Action should reflect Christ's love and purity. So I feel like this just not only in marriage, but like with people, when you're trying to get someone to see something your way, it's like acting in this way is going to shine that light of Christianity on someone more than like being so just like
bossy and legalistic.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is gentleness and love, also in Peter. That tells us to cultivate a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth to God. focusing on inner beauty rather than external outward arguments.
Yeah. And this part in Peter that you're talking about, specifically 1 Peter 3 verses 1-2 says, likewise, wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that even if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives, when they see your respectful and pure conduct. I think that this is where submission gets really misunderstood, especially in our Christian culture. So let's be really clear on this. What submission does not mean, and this really matters, is submission does not mean accepting abuse. So whether that's emotional, physical, spiritual, or your husband leading you into something that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like leading you into sin.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a whole chapter in Deuteronomy, I think it's Deuteronomy chapter 13, that talks about this. It's like, if your sister who you're super close to, or your mom or your dad tries to lead you into sin, do not do it. It's like the whole chapter.
Right.
So it definitely doesn't mean pretending that unhealthy or ungodly leadership is somehow okay, because that's not biblical submission. That is distortion.
Right.
Biblical submission, it is actually much deeper and much stronger than that. It's a posture of respect when possible. And it's choosing not to try to control or overpower. And ultimately, it's about trusting God. He is your authority above all else. So if what your husband is trying to get you to submit to does not line up with what God says, then you don't need to submit, because our first authority is God is who we submit
absolutely.
to. Right?
Absolutely. Like, now that we've kind of discussed the meaning of submit in that context, let's kind of break down the rest of the passage. So, wives, submit to your husbands. So then, like, how are husbands to treat wives? So if we know that submit means, to serve, and wives are called to submit to their husbands, what are then the husbands called to do? So husbands are called to be the head of the wife, as Christ is also head of the church. So the husband is the head, he's the leader, the protector, and Christ is the savior of the body, the church, us. It teaches a model of loving, sacrificial leadership by the husband and respectful, voluntary submission by the wife. So biblical submission allows a wife to confidently follow her husband's lead. It's a leader that wives submit to husbands not as a tyrant or a superior, like you were saying.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, but a leader, a president, or, a king, or a pastor, or a parent, anybody who's in a traditional leadership position, their job is to care for those who are under them, who they are the leader of.
Right.
So the husband is to care for the wife, to care for the children. So every decision that he makes needs to be in their best interest.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So if your husband is making decisions that you feel like you can't trust,
or jeopardize, the overall well-being of your family.
Right.
I mean,
then they're,
it's the same as a president making a bad decision for the overall country.
Right. And so as women, I think that one of our gifts is discernment. So as long as we're, prayerful and looking to the Bible for truth, then we should be able to discern, good leadership from bad leadership.
Yeah. Right. So we see this modeled in the church, right? Like, the church follows Christ because he is good, he's loving, he's trustworthy. So how does Christ lead? He leads by serving and giving himself, like you were saying. He literally gave himself as the ultimate sacrifice. So
yeah, he washed the disciples' feet.
Right.
He was leading by serving.
Yes. So does this not mean, that if husbands are to imitate Christ, that they too should be leading by serving the wife and the family, just as you were saying?
Yeah.
So we're looking at this as, a love that serves. So mutual service and submission By two equals abiding in Christ's teachings, both parties feel loved and respected. So, how does this apply to us today? So, sacrificial love. So, for the husbands, the modern application means that husbands act as spiritual leaders, taking initiative and serving, encouraging and prioritizing their wife's needs over their own, mimicking Christ's sacrifice. It's not about asserting authority, but of self-sacrifice. And then, the respectful support of wives. Wives are called to trust and support their husband's leadership, creating a partnership where the wife flourishes and the husband is strengthened, not acting as a doormat. And I don't know about you, but the more that I feel led, in protected and cared for by Justin, the more that natural inclination to serve and to submit comes.
Yeah, I feel,
you don't want to submit to someone who is not, who isn't leading you and that you don't feel protected and safe.
Or who doesn't have your best interest in mind.
Right.
When you start to feel, when you really start to trust your husband, and there were several years in my marriage in the beginning where, and I think this is most people when they first get married, because it takes a while for, the Bible says you become one. In a sense, you do right when you get married, but it takes longer than that for, trust is earned.
Yeah.
And so it's not just an instant you get married. Now, all of a sudden, I trust you with my life. It takes
absolutely.
time. You have to, prove it to one another.
Right.
And, in the beginning, I thought things should be a certain way. Jake thought things should be a certain way. And I didn't trust that he was going to have my best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I didn't let him lead. And then that caused a lot of just butting heads in our marriage. But when I did finally start trusting him, and I saw that his desire was truly to do what is best for me and for the kids, our whole family, then I started appreciating him leading so much. It was like a weight off my shoulders.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just letting him make the decisions, like a lot of the tough ones. And always, he's asking my opinion, and I can tell that he always, takes it to heart and to account when he's making, big decisions.
Right.
Even decisions that I'm not involved in, that are just separate from kind of our relationship. He's asking my opinion because he trusts me.
Right.
And so we have a mutual trust, but I can't tell you just the relief that allowing him to take on the full role of his God-designed position has given me.
Yeah. Yeah. That obviously makes so much sense. And, it also throws in a different wrench when you start having kids. Then you have to relearn what that looks like, because again, your husband is going to lead in different ways. And if you see your husband, I know with Justin, he's always happy to do anything that I ask him to do. Okay. Well, not happy.
Right.
But he will do.
But he'll do it.
Whatever I ask, it'll get done, but it's about taking the initiative. I want you to be able to, know what I anticipate.
Yeah. Anticipate
those
my
needs,
right.
And
have all the kids bathed before I get home.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't want to have to tell you.
Yeah.
It's I just want you to do that. And so it's having kids adds in a whole other, aspect of that. And again, when you see your husband taking the lead and sees you struggling, or he walks in after work or something and you've got the kids, you're in the middle of dinner, this, that, and the other. It's rather than going and sitting on the couch and I so get a hard day is a hard day.
Right.
You want to sign off, but that it goes so far to come in and be I see you've got this, what can I take off your plate? Or just start cleaning up. You know what I mean?
That's when the dying to oneself comes in, like we talked about last podcast.
Exactly.
Doing it really carries so much more weight when you do something that doesn't come easy, or that you don't naturally want to do,
for sure,
in service to someone else.
Absolutely. And I think that it's especially hard in marriage because you're comfortable with that person, right? Like you've been together for forever. You know they're not going to leave you because you didn't say, "Oh, how can I help you?" You know, like so you really let your guard down. Whereas like with friends, it's like you want to like continue to like grow and like water that friendship. So I feel like you're more like inclined to like serve, if that makes sense.
I mean, you don't want them to see all the dark parts.
Yeah. Right. Whereas like, you know, you're home, you're walking into your safe space, like, I don't want to do these things. Like, I don't want to ask you how I can help, you know? And like, I don't want to help. Like, I always joke with Justin and like my family too, like that I am like not a helper. Like I do not help. I am not like the person that's like, "Oh, you're moving. Like, let me come help you pack boxes. I'll pay or like send you food or whatever." But like, I don't like to help.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but that just goes like such a long way, you know? And to like have your husband see that and like want to help and to step in and do those things is like, I feel like as women, that is what gets us to want to then serve them
however
like, in
they
return,
want, right?
You know?
Yeah, and that's a good point. As husbands, the task, whatever it may be that your wife is wanting you to do in that moment, most of the time it will be worth it later, right? I mean, in one way or another, she's going to respect you more. She's going to be kinder. You know, whatever the case.
When they pull you in for a hug, you're going to go all the way in.
Right, exactly. Not the side. Right. Yeah. So it just, like with anything that's hard, it is worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think it's like, you know, it's hard because in this like world that we live in, I mean, I can't imagine like dating now, but like, it's like you, again, like you want a man to like provide for you, to like open the door for you. And I feel like, well, all women want that.
Right.
Like, I don't want to go half season on a dinner. Like you're taking me on a date, like open my door, pay for my dinner. Like,
deal breaker.
Why am I
immediately?
Here?
Right. Yeah. And that's what I don't.
Like you can be a strong woman. I feel like I'm very like, you know, strong.
You're strong.
Like I'm not like a doormat, like by any sense of the mean, but like I still want to be like cared for.
Yeah.
I still want like my mans to like step up and like do manly things.
Right.
You know?
And when they don't, you know, it also when the roles reverse, it creates a really weird dynamic.
Oh, it really does.
Yeah. And one that does not work very often.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be the, you know, one-off case where it works well for them. But even if as women, we, you know, push our husband into a submissive role, you know, because we think that's where we want him.
Right.
Once we have him there, we realize we do not want that. I mean, talk about the ick, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Like having, it just,
and once you get the ick, you can't get out of it.
It's real hard to go back. So that's, you know, us doing things because we think it's what we want and then getting the result. And
yeah, absolutely.
Not good.
Okay. So I had like read this and I thought it was poignant. So I just wanted to share. Okay. It may be long, but, okay. So there are two primary reasons why couples and people in general struggle with the concept of submission experience in this sinful world. So God designed marriage for two sinless human beings, Adam and Eve. In this righteousness, Adam and Eve did and would have forever continued to live in perfect, blissful harmony with Adam as the head and Eve in submission as her husband's helper. Once the couple brought sin into themselves and their world, their union became the perverted, broken version of marriage the world has struggled with ever since. This boils down to husbands failing to serve as the head of their wives and wives failing to submit. This perversion is manifest in bickering, hurtful words, pettiness, grudge holding, neglect, usurpation of authority, violence, abandonment, and adultery. The reason the world shuns the notion of godly submission is because it has seen the same used as a basis for tyranny, dominion, and abuse within marriage. It cannot be overemphasized that God's design for marriage is not the problem. Human beings and their sinfulness and our nature are the problem. Humanity fails in marriage because it has fallen from God's perfect design. And then just one other point that I had read said, try to imagine married life in the Garden of Eden. Before the fall, Adam committed himself fully to serving as Eve's head, attending perfectly to her needs, never once being selfish, delighting in her completely, only after God. In this way, the first man never used his headship to dominate Eve. Eve also found her delight in Adam, supporting him in every endeavor and gladly submitting to her head. Keep in mind that fear of submission is a temptation from the devil. The world decided that submission is evil and to be avoided. God praises submission. Was it not Christ himself who humbly submitted to the cross for the sake of sinners? So I feel like both of these just really like hone in on the fact that God's design for our marriage is unity.
Yeah.
Like, right?
Right. Yeah. And when we follow God's design, then, things will go well for us. It's when we break apart from that things get muddy.
Yeah. And so how can we strengthen this, this design that God has for us? I think like praying together is a big one.
Yeah.
And can definitely be awkward and uncomfortable at first.
Do you and Justin pray together?
We could be better.
We don't.
But I will say that after that marriage class, when all, Justin took away was the wives submit to your husband.
Right.
We actually did start praying together. So I would say those are two takeaways that we got from that 6-week class was me submitting and then us praying together.
Yeah.
And, at first it was definitely like tough.
Yeah.
But it was important to me to like, I think like when we first started, I would sometimes like pray over us, but then I was like, I really want you to do this. And he did, and I think that was like important to give him like that authority.
Right.
And I don't know, we need to get back there. We have kind of like fallen away from that. I would say like the past year or so, like just with Justin, like being busier than he's really ever been. And like, if we don't go to bed at the same time, it's hard. And like, he used to be really good about like coming in and before I would go to bed. And it's not just him, but like, I need to like cultivate that again too. Like, hey, I'm going to go to bed now. Like if you're not coming to bed too, then like, let's do this, because I just do feel like it sets like that precedence.
Right. And you both, you come together with the same goal.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that is one way to strengthen it. And then also just like, obviously, but like communicate and like learning each other's communication styles.
Right.
Like Jake and Justin would really benefit from knowing that when they say sorry, like we really need them to mean it. And it's just because it's like, that's what's important to us and like to move forward. And then also
and timing's important too.
Yeah.
I feel like there are times when I know Jake is stressed or whatever. It's not the time for me to bring up,
exactly something that's been on your heart.
Right.
Like, and I've learned that too. I will say like myself in the back that like, I've gotten better about that because I used to like, it popped into my mind and I had to say it. Like I've never been a girl who's like, oh, how do you tell your husband? No.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. Yeah. And I'm going to say it now. And I don't care if it's the worst possible time, but I have really like pulled back on that. And I'm like, okay, I can see that Justin is like really stressed with this right now. Or like, this is just not the time to bring it up. Like I'm going to table it. And I've also learned that like doing that for me, sometimes when I come back around it, I'm like, that is not
it doesn't bother you like it
anymore,
did.
you know?
Yes.
And that helps too, because then it feels like you're like nitpicking less.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody likes a leaky faucet. A nagging wife is a leaky faucet.
Oh yeah.
That's biblical.
Yeah, I know. Oops.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is so important too, to just like learn that and how you want to be communicated with, because that's only going to help in both ways. That's going to help for him to, serve you and for you to serve him. Like I've never been like the type of person, the type of girl who like when we get into an argument or something that like I want to be left alone. And Justin knows that about me.
Yeah.
Like I am not one of those people who's like, just leave me alone. Like, I mean, I say that obviously, but like, no, I want you to follow me. I want you to come get me. I want to talk it out right then and there.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I'm the same. And Jake is a big fan of like the mic drop, saying everything that he wants to say and then walking away. And I have all my rebuttals ready. And he's gone.
Oh my goodness. He's gone. He's out.
And that drives me crazy.
Right.
Like there are not many things that gets my heart racing like that does, you know? So I'm kind of the same. I want to just duke it out right now. And he likes to walk away and take some time to cool off.
And I think that's how most men are. Because they can also cool off and get over it. It's like, if I'm sitting there alone in my thoughts, I'm replaying everything in my head. I'm ruminating on it and getting angrier by the second.
Same.
Like if we can squash it, in that, you know, then I can move forward. But
well, and also, you know, the Bible talks about, and it doesn't say this word, but marinating is the word I'm going to use on like negative thoughts or bad thoughts. So if you want to think about, you know, just intrusive thoughts in general, they pop into your head, and that in itself is not a sin, but sitting there and, you know, thinking about it over and over and stewing on it. So whether that be, you know, lust or something, you know, along those lines, or if it's just, you know, anger at your spouse, sitting there and just ruminating on it and stewing over it is only going to make things worse.
Yeah.
So as unnatural as it may feel, because I'm the type that, you know, kind of wants to be like an attorney, I need to get all of my facts in line.
Absolutely.
And, you know, gather all my receipts. That is not the right thing to do.
Right.
Because that makes the situation worse. And lately, you know, in the last few years of our marriage, I have to remind myself, and I'll say this to Jake too, I'm like, we're not getting a divorce. We're married. So I really don't understand why we're going to let this get like to explosive levels.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow or whenever we decide to get over this, things are going to go back to normal.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the point in causing all this drama between us when, you know, we're going to have to move past it. Right. So, and, you know, we're to the point in our marriage, thank God. And I know that, you know, marriage is, it has its ups and downs and the good seasons and the bad seasons. But, you know, thank God that we're in a good season right now. So nothing that we are fighting over is like, you know, a deal breaker. They're all just basically prideful things.
Yeah.
And, you know, my will against his.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully like reading through and kind of like breaking down this whole passage is a little more enlightening.
Yeah.
And just kind of like sheds more light on this, because I feel like, you know, when it's taken out of context, then, you know, the people come out, you know, with their, what are those things called?
Pitchforks?
Pitchforks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, I'm a woman, you know, like, I can do it all. And
hear me roar.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're for women.
Yeah.
You know, but we're also for men.
Right.
So
of all people.
Yeah. So anyways, hopefully like breaking that down is just like helpful, that it's really just submission into others to like, again, go back to like dying to yourself.
Well, and if all else fails and you just, you know, you're angry, my grandmother always said this, and my mom said it to me, fake it till you feel it.
Yeah.
So even if, you know, you're still ticked, just fake it, and eventually the feelings will come, you know?
Right. Okay. Well, I think that's it for today. Yeah. So thanks for joining. And Jess, do you want to tell people to write in to us?
Yeah. No, I've learned that there's nowhere for you to write in. So please DM us on our Instagram. It's just
Spill the Word Pod.
Yeah, Spill the Word Pod. So DM us if you have any questions or feedback.
Comments, concerns.
Yeah, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement.
Yeah, well, maybe keep that for now. This is only our our fourth episode.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you anyways for tuning in, and we hope that something that we said today will resonate and help with your life or your current situation.
Thanks. Bye.